My name is Micah Hatton. We're here at Biloxi Fire Station 1 on Porter Avenue. This is Chad and Cody. We're firefighter station here on B shift, and we're going to be making some homemade baked macaroni and cheese. Alright, to start with, we need to get our bacon cooking. I like to bake mine about anywhere between 350 and 400 depending on your oven for about 20 minutes or until it gets good and crispy where you can kind of crumble it up, because it's going to be bacon bits essentially. Cody here, he is grading up some sharp white cheddar. Get it wherever you get your cheese at. It's best that you get the block cheese instead of using pre-shredded stuff, because the block cheese is going to melt a whole lot better than the pre-shredded cheese. The pre-shredded stuff is going to kind of be gritty and a little waxy, and we don't want that. We want it to be creamy. So we're going to put our bacon on the sheet here. And Chad's got our noodles going. We're using shells. You can use macaroni noodles. You can use whatever you want. It's easy. Here, throw that in the garbage, Cody. Thank you. All right, while that's going, we're going to make our roux for our cheese sauce. We're going to start with a stick of butter, unsalted. You're going to need a pretty big skillet. You don't have to use cast iron, but I like it better if you can. So you're going to get your butter warmed up. Once your butter gets to pretty much all the way melted, you're going to add a tablespoon or two of minced garlic, depending on how strong you want it, and let that simmer in there for about a minute. And then you're going to lower the heat and start sifting in some flour to make a roux. Get it to where it's a little bit less than Play-Doh consistency. Not quite that firm, but pretty firm. Alright, we got our butter melted down. We'll add a couple tablespoons of minced garlic. And I'm going to let that simmer around for about a minute or so. Just to where that garlic, you'll start to smell it real strong. To kind of keep it moving so it don't scorch. Pretty good. Alright, lower the heat, and I'm going to start sifting in some all-purpose flour. We're just making a simple roux. Give me a whisk. Yeah, that'll work. Thank you. You're going to put in flour just a little bit at a time. If you get too much in there at one time, it's going to get lumpy. It's not going to want to fall out to the consistency we want. A little bit more. Starting to thicken up. And there's no set amount of flour to use. You kind of got to play it by ear until you get the consistency you want. Like I said, it's going to be kind of like slightly wet Play-Doh. You're going to have this on a real low heat while you're doing it. You don't want it to get too hot. There we go. We're almost there. And even if you get it too thick to start with, you can always thin it out. We're going to thin it out here in just a minute anyway with some milk and cream. So if you get it a little bit too thick, I wouldn't be too worried. You can always fix it later. Alright, this is about the texture you want. It's kind of like applesauce, thick applesauce. Make sure all that's mashed in there good. And now I'm going to give it just a little bit of heat. And we're going to add in some heavy cream. You can use regular milk, but if you can use heavy cream, it's going to make it that much thicker and rich. Add that in a little bit at a time. And stir it in. It's going to look like, to start with, it's not going to mix. You just keep stirring, a little time, a little heat. It's all going to come together. Probably going to take most of a pint, little carton of cream. If you need any more, if it gets still too thick after that, you can add some just regular whole milk. I wouldn't use skim milk because they cut that with water and that's going to make it runny. Looks like our bacon's done. Yeah, it's good and crispy. We're going to take half of that, or we're going to take all that bacon and we're just going to put it between two paper towels to get the grease out. We're going to mash it up. We're going to make little bacon bits out of it. Alright. And when you get done with that, Cody, divide it into two. Take about half of it, set it to the side, and I'm going to take the other half over here in just a second. And this whole time, just kind of keeping it on low heat and keeping it moving. You don't want the milk to scorch or the cream to scorch. And when it starts getting close to this point too, you can start adding in any seasonings you want. I'm just going to do a little salt and pepper, but if you wanted to add some Tony's in there to make it a little more spicy, cayenne, or some Italian seasoning, basil, oregano, whatever you want. Here, will you add that in for me? We're going to add in the cheese just a little bit at a time. Add in a little bit, we get it melted, stir it, and then add in some more. It's going to be, that's good. You're going to use about a 16-ounce block. give or take. If you want it a little more rich, you may add a little more cheese. But you don't want to get it too hot when you're heating the cheese. Don't get it where it's bubbling, because if you start cooking it, the cheese is going to start to separate and it's going to turn out to be gritty. All you really want to do is melt it, not really cook it. That's good. The finer you have the cheese grated, the easier it is to melt. It won't take quite as long. I don't know who graded this, but yeah, that's good right now. And when your noodles get done, you're just going to drain them, set them to the side. And then you're going to find your favorite casserole dish, whichever one you think is the appropriate size. And then after your noodles are drained, and let them steam off a little bit, get a little dry, pour them in your casserole dish, about halfway up the top. All right, we got half our bacon already minced up into little bacon bits, homemade bacon bits. You can put half of them in with your sauce, and you're going to take the other half, crush them up, and that's going to go for the topping. So go ahead and pour that half in here. Don't be shy. There you go. Next, sir. And we're going to take the last little bit of our cheese and get it melted down. Alright, we got all of our cheese melted in. If you think your sauce is a little bit too thick, you can add a little more milk if you need to. I wouldn't recommend adding any more flour at this point because it's going to be kind of hard to get it articulated in without it being lumpy. But you can always thin it out if you need. And you're just going to keep sifting this until you make sure there's all that cheese is melted down and we don't have any chunks left of it. Alright, we got our noodles in our pan and we got our sauce. We're just going to kind of dump it over in there. Yeah, I think it'll be alright. Alright, that's good. And then you're going to kind of just spread that out. Fill up the corners. Will you melt me about half a stick of butter? Kind of incorporate it in with the noodles a little bit. Get it evenly distributed. Now if you don't want the breadcrumbs on top, it's ready to eat right now. But to me, the breadcrumbs and bacon on top add that little extra little bit of goodness. Here you go, Cody. Make that up. Thank you. All right, Chad is melting about half a stick of butter, and then we're going to take our Italian breadcrumbs and mix in with that butter. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mix in with that butter and make those breadcrumbs just a little bit thicker. We're also going to add in the rest of our bacon. In fact, we go ahead and pour that over the top right now. Normally about an 8-ounce container of these breadcrumbs to about half a stick of butter, yeah. And then while you're stirring up the butter, mixing the butter with the breadcrumbs, add just a little bit of this regular grated Parmesan cheese in there with it. Couple 3 tablespoons. All right. Then you just take your breadcrumbs, kind of sift them out over the top. Like say, there we go. We like breadcrumbs. I would try to offer a healthy option, but this is comfort food, so there really is no healthy alternatives. All right, you got your breadcrumbs spread out. If you want to add a little more seasoning to the top to give it some color, you can, but this is the way we normally do it. So we're going to stick that in the oven. That's going to be for about 350 for about 15 minutes until that top gets golden brown and kind of crispy.
So around the firehouse, depending on what happens between breakfast and lunch, you have to prepare. So we got to have time to make breakfast, make lunch, but we eat really good, and then we'll go work out a little bit. We may have some long hours, some long shifts. But depending on the calls, dinner's always here when we get back. So depending, we have a couple guys that are out, but Josh McGoo, he usually cooks for us, makes really good omelets, 10 out of 10. And then Micah and Chad usually cook our breakfast and dinner, a lot. The peach cobbler and ice cream kind of goes around the firehouse a lot. Chad makes it a bunch, and it is phenomenal. So I think that's probably our favorite dessert. Micah, he's really good as well, so we kind of just come up with something on the spot.
We're going to see. I think it should be about done. Yep. All right, left it in there about 20 minutes, came out, top's golden brown, and this is it. That's Station 1's baked macaroni and cheese. And that's it for Biloxi Cooks this month.